She sat in the center of the sterile corridor, blood drying on her scraped knees, her sunflower dress torn and stained with soot. The lights above cast a bluish sheen over the chrome walls, making her look almost ethereal, like a fragile remnant of a world long past. Around her, the armored enforcers stood motionless, their visors glinting like obsidian mirrors, faceless and unfeeling. Her name was Lyra, and she had once been someone's daughter, someone's hope. Now she was a symbol, though of what she hadn't yet decided. Resistance, maybe. Or collateral damage. The guards didn't speak. They never did. Bioengineered for obedience, they operated under a central neural network that pulsed somewhere beneath the capital's surface. She had seen the core once, just a glimpse, but it had been enough to burn the image into her mind. A massive living algorithm suspended in fluid, breathing data and exhaling control. Lyra shifted, the gash on her shoulder pulling taut. Pain shot through her arm, but she didn't cry out. The last time she had screamed, they'd recorded it. Played it back during interrogation like a lullaby. She'd learned to hold silence in her mouth like a blade. A hiss broke the stillness as the chamber doors at the far end slid open. Footsteps echoed, deliberate and unhurried. A man emerged, draped in charcoal robes threaded with silver circuitry, his face hidden behind a translucent veil of shifting code. He was the speaker, liaison between the council and the rest of the broken world. Lyra hated him with a precision she hadn't known she possessed. "You've caused quite a stir," he said. His voice smooth, modulated, unervingly kind. 2 sectors in blackout. A dozen sentinels down. One of them, human. She met his gaze, or where she imagined his gaze would be, and said nothing. The speaker stepped closer, hands clasped behind his back. "You're not special, Lyra. Just exceptionally misplaced. Tell me where the others are hiding, and I promise you, this ends here." A flicker passed across her face. Perhaps a memory, perhaps defiance. She remembered the way Kalen had pulled her from the debris, his hands trembling as he wiped the blood from her eyes. She remembered the hidden tunnel beneath the orphanage, and the coded lullabies they used to pass messages. Most of all, she remembered the fire. "I don't know," she said, her voice hoarse. "You're lying," the speaker replied, though without menace. He didn't need it. Threats were obsolete. Everything about him, about this regime, was designed to dismantle resistance not through force, but through inevitability. He gestured, and one of the sentinels stepped forward. The sound of its movement, hydraulics and servos, was oddly gentle. It extended a gloved hand, and a holographic interface blinked to life between them, displaying lines of code, flashing symbols, and Lyra's neural scan. "You think you're protecting them," the speaker said. "But they're already compromised. One of them gave you up." Lyra's breath hitched. Too quick, too subtle for most to notice. But the speaker did. "Ah," he murmured. "So you still care." She turned her face away, but the damage was done. He smiled, she could hear it in his voice. "You're young," he continued. "You believe in causes, in people. It's admirable if foolish. But eventually, all revolutions end in exhaustion. You'll learn." He moved to leave but paused at the door. "We extract memories without pain now. You'll feel nothing when we take what we need. And when it's over, you won't even remember you ever resisted." As he vanished down the corridor, the sentinels closed in again, forming a perimeter around her. Still they didn't touch her. They didn't have to. The threat was a fact of life, like gravity or decay. Lyra closed her eyes. She focused on Kalen's face, on the laughter of the younger kids in the tunnels, on the way the stars looked when the power grid failed and the night returned to the sky. If they took everything from her, she would still have this moment, hers alone. In the silence, her fingers grazed the seam of her dress, where a tiny shard of metal was stitched into the hem. It pulsed faintly, syncing with the beat of her heart. They hadn't found it. She breathed in slow, steady. The speaker thought the war was over. He hadn't realized it had only just begun. The transport chamber hummed as it descended, the vibration a dull whisper beneath Lyra's skin. Her hands were bound, but she held her posture like a blade, straight-backed, unyielding. The shard hidden in her dress remained silent, dormant. It wasn't time yet. Across from her, seated in mechanical restraints, was the only other prisoner, Dax. Older than her by a few years. He looked like a man who had lived too many lives in too little time. Scars mapped his skin like a forgotten language, and his left eye flickered with a soft red glow, the telltale mark of a salvaged implant. He watched her with a kind of detached curiosity, the way you'd study a dying star. Brilliant, distant, inevitable. "You're Lyra," he said, his voice gravel and static. "Didn't think you were real." She didn't answer. The walls had ears, even in motion. "You blew out Sector 9's grid," he added. "Heard you walked through the flame like it was water. That true?" She glanced at him, unimpressed. "Is that what they're saying?" "Among other things," he smirked. "Some think you're the key. Some think you're bait." That drew her attention. "Bait for what?" "For who?" he corrected. "Kalen. He's the only one who'd risk storming Central for someone like you." She tried not to react, but Dax's gaze was too sharp, his experience too deep. He saw it anyway. "You care about him." "It doesn't matter," she said. "Sure it does," he replied. "Caring's dangerous. Makes you predictable. That's what they're counting on." The chamber slowed, a hiss of steam signaling their arrival. The doors opened to reveal a hallway lined with obsidian panels and soft, ambient lighting. Comfort carefully curated. This was no prison. It was the neural extraction wing, dressed like a spa, scented like peace. Two handlers waited for them, dressed in sterile white, their expressions blank behind augmented lenses. As they approached, Dax leaned close, voice low. "They'll separate us. You'll go under first. They won't find what they're looking for. Not unless you let them." She nodded once, barely perceptible. "And Lyra," he added as they were pulled apart. "If Kalen comes, don't look back. He won't leave if you do." They dragged her into a circular chamber where the walls pulsed with soft light. A chair rose from the floor, smooth and metallic, like something birthed from the ocean floor. She was guided into it, her arms and legs fastened with soundless efficiency. A soft voice, female, synthetic, greeted her. Neural calibration initiated. Estimated duration: 17 minutes. Pain suppression engaged. A helmet descended over her head, its interior dark and warm. Images flickered before her eyes. Snapshots of her life, unbidden. Her mother's voice singing in the ruins. Kalen's hand pressed to her chest, bloodied and shaking. The taste of iron and smoke. The sound of the speaker's calm cruelty. She focused on the shard again. Its pulse grew louder, not to the world, but to her mind. It was more than metal. It was memory. Encoded with a map, a failsafe, and something else, something alive. Not quite AI, not quite human. The extraction began. The machine probed her thoughts with gentleness that made her skin crawl. It was surgical in its violation, separating memories from emotion, tracking connections. She could feel it looking for the entrance to the rebel network, for names, faces, locations. She gave it nothing. She redirected pain into silence, grief into static. For every question it posed, she buried the answer beneath something meaningless. A song, a color, the feel of dirt beneath her fingernails. She layered her mind like armor. But the machine was patient. 7 minutes in, it found something. An image of Kalen, bruised and laughing in the tunnels. Paused, zeroing in. Lyra's heartbeat surged. She activated the shard. The effect was immediate. The helmet sparked, recoiled. Alarms blared, low, urgent. The handlers rushed in, but too late. The shard released its payload into the extraction system, corrupting the neural interface, scrambling data with a virus disguised as memory. The room dimmed. The light stuttered. For a moment, Lyra was alone with the flicker of her thoughts, the ghost of the machine screaming inside her head. Then the power cut. Darkness swallowed the chamber. She tore her arm free from the weakened restraint, the locking mechanism compromised by the overload. With effort and grit, she freed herself completely, rising from the chair like a revenant. Outside, chaos bloomed. Sirens. Footsteps running in wrong directions. Dax was waiting in the corridor, bruised but smiling. "Nice timing," he said, handing her a small pulse grenade. "Your boyfriend sends his regards." "He's not she started then stopped. "Forget it. Where's the exit?" "North Passage. Sublevel 7. There's a breach team waiting. We've got 4 minutes before backup arrives." They moved as one, silent and swift. The facility crumbled around them, not physically but digitally. The virus had spread, blinding cameras, opening doors that were never meant to be opened. As they reached the lift shaft, Dax turned to her. "You sure you want to go back out there? You could vanish, start over. No one would find you." "I don't want to vanish," she said. "I want them to know I was here. And that I'm coming back." They descended into the dark, the cold wind rising from the depths like a whisper of the war yet to come. The rain fell in thin, slanted lines, slicing through the night like wires. It pinged softly against the rusted remnants of what had once been a train terminal, now a skeletal monument to the world before. Lyra crouched beneath a collapsed awning, pulse steady, eyes scanning the debris-laced plaza ahead. Her shoulder throbbed from the extraction chair, but she pushed the pain aside. It had become a familiar companion. Kalen emerged from the shadows without a sound. His coat soaked, face unreadable beneath the hood. He moved like someone who no longer trusted the ground beneath his feet, each step calculated, each breath measured. When he saw her, he didn't speak. He just knelt, pressed his forehead to hers and exhaled. "You're alive," he said finally, as though the words had been waiting behind his teeth for days. "Barely," she murmured. "They tried to crack me. Did they get anything?" "Only what I let them see." She pulled the shard from her dress and held it between her fingers. Its light was dim now, flickering like a dying star. "It bought us time." "Not much." Kalen's jaw tightened. "We have to move. The council's sweeping the lower quadrants. Dax already left to secure the gate." "Is he?" "He's fine," Kalen cut in, then added more gently. "He said you saved his life." Lyra didn't respond. Her mind was already moving ahead, calculating risks, routes, the weight of decisions. She had been a fugitive for only a handful of days, yet she felt as if years had compressed into her bones. There was no innocence left to grieve, only the mission. They crossed the plaza under cover of night, slipping through gaps in surveillance, guided by an old route embedded in Lyra's mind from her courier days. Every corner brought the risk of betrayal. Every silence felt pregnant with unseen eyes. But Kalen stayed close, always a half step behind her, ready to cover, to catch, to kill. At the edge of the plaza, a sentry drone buzzed overhead, its searchlight sweeping in slow arcs. Lyra pressed herself against the wall of an old maintenance shed. Kalen mirrored her on the opposite side. They waited, breath held, until the light passed and the drone disappeared into the clouds. "Why come for me?" she asked as they slipped into the drainage tunnels beneath the city. Her voice was steady, but the question burned at the edges of her restraint. "You could have stayed safe. You were out." "I was never out," Kalen said. "Not really. Besides, you would have done the same for me." "That's not the point." He paused, turned toward her. In the dim light of the tunnel, his face looked older, rougher, as if time had taken its toll only while she'd been gone. "The point is, you're not just a symbol, Lyra. You're the reason people still believe this isn't over." "I'm not a leader." "No," he agreed. "But you're something better. You're proof they can't control everyone." They reached the gate hidden beneath an ancient utility conduit, just a slab of iron and concrete with no markings, but beneath it, a tunnel led to the remnants of the Resistance's last operating base. Or what was left of it. Dax stood nearby, flanked by 2 ragtag fighters with mismatched armor and tired eyes. "Scans show we're clean," he said without preamble. No trackers, no signals. For now. They descended together. The base was little more than a hollowed-out bunker, its walls lined with makeshift consoles and salvaged equipment. Children slept in corners, bundled in scraps. Adults whispered over maps. Everyone looked like they'd seen the end of the world more than once, and lived to remember it. Lyra stepped inside, and the room shifted. Not loudly, not with applause, but with silence, with stillness. Recognition passed from face to face, and for the first time she felt its weight. Not celebrity but responsibility. She found a table near the back and spread out a schematic, one she'd memorized during her time inside the council's core. It showed more than a building. Showed weakness. They're planning something, she said. Bigger than purges. It's called Directive Ashfall. It targets the underground water grid, the neural relay towers, everything people need to survive without them. If it goes live, the outer sectors won't last a week. Kaylin leaned over her shoulder. Where's the control point? There's no single one. It's distributed across 3 spires. And they've begun sinking them. Dax whistled low. They're turning the world off. Unless we shut them down first. The room fell quiet again. Not out of fear, though fear was there, but because something had shifted. The girl in the yellow dress, the one they thought broken, was standing in front of them with fire in her eyes and blood still drying on her skin. And she had a plan. Kaylin placed a hand on her shoulder. You sure you're ready for this? No, she said. But I'm going anyway. That night no one slept. Plans were drawn. Names were listed. Messages were coded and sent. The storm was no longer coming, it was here. And this time Lyra would be leading it. The sky above Spire 1 crackled with artificial lightning, an endless web of energy arcing between metal pylons that rose like fangs from the ground. The air smelled of ozone and burning metal, and the hum of the synchronization core reverberated through the earth like a second heartbeat. From the ridge overlooking the complex, Lyra surveyed the battlefield. She was crouched beside Kaylin, who adjusted the magnifier lens on his rifle with clinical precision. His face was streaked with dust and sweat, but his hands never trembled. Behind them, Dax coordinated with the breach unit through a static-filled comms link. His voice low and sharp. Lyra's mind worked faster than her pulse, mapping every guard patrol, every blind spot, every possible failure. The spire's outer shell shimmered with a defensive field, powered by 6 anchor nodes buried across the compound. They'd need to take out at least 4 to penetrate the core chamber, and they'd need to do it without alerting the central AI hive. Kaylin, north flank. Dax, west node. I'll take the southern pair, she said. You sure? Kaylin asked, not as doubt but concern. I've been inside. I know the architecture, she replied, sliding a compact disruptor blade into her sleeve. This time we finish it. Kaylin gave her a nod and vanished down the slope, a shadow among ruins. Dax clapped her shoulder once, grinned like a man too tired to care if he lived or died, and jogged off into the mist. Lyra moved fast, every step calculated. Her wounds still ached, but they fueled her now, reminders of what the council had taken. She slipped through the southern perimeter, neutralizing a sensor node with a pulse spike. The defensive shield above flickered as the first anchor destabilized. One down. She crossed the compound like a whisper, ducking under conduit lines and through shattered ventilation shafts. The second node was guarded. 2 sentinels armored in the council's new obsidian exosuits. Smarter, faster, lethal. She waited. When one of them turned to scan the west quadrant, she lunged. The disruptor blade hissed against the first sentinel's armor, sliding into the joint at the neck with practiced efficiency. The second turned too late. She jammed a shortwave stun charge into its chest plate, frying the interface. It twitched violently, then collapsed. 2 down. From her earpiece, Dax's voice broke through the static. 3rd node down. Kaylin's got 4. Good, she breathed. Meet at the breach point. Mark 042. She made her way to the rendezvous point near a breach hatch embedded into the spire's foundation. Kalen was already there, crouched beside the control lock. Blood stained his left sleeve, but he smiled when he saw her. "You always show up right when I'm thinking of leaving." "You'd never leave," she said. He keyed in the override code she'd memorized from her time inside, and the hatch groaned open, revealing a dark corridor lit by pulsing red conduits. They entered together, weapons drawn, silent as ghosts. Inside the spire, everything pulsed with life. Not biological but artificial. The walls seemed to breathe, the air tinged with the sterile chill of a controlled ecosystem. They passed beneath banks of memory servers, rows of frozen human data, harvested during extractions. Made Lyra sick. "They store minds in here," Kalen said quietly. His voice almost reverent. "Real people. Remnants," she corrected. "Ghosts they keep to refine their algorithms." It's how the speaker always knew what to say, what to fear. As they approached the core chamber, an alert flared red on the walls. Motion detected. The council was on to them. Doors hissed shut behind them, locking down their retreat. "We're in it now," Dax's voice came over the comms, strained. "You've got less than 10 minutes before reinforcements drop from Spire 2. You finish this, or we all burn." They reached the control nexus, a sphere suspended in anti-grav above a pool of raw energy. Circuits webbed the walls, pulsing faster now, as if the system knew it was under threat. A central console jutted out from the floor, its interface glowing with the glyphs Lyra remembered from the extraction lab. She stepped forward. "Lyra," Kalen said, touching her wrist. "Are you sure you can do this?" "I have to," she said. "This is what they made me for. What they broke me trying to stop." She placed her palm on the console. The system scanned her DNA, accepted her identity. She was still in their registry. Still a broken weapon, waiting for commands. But this time she had her own. She accessed the override sequence and initiated a full systems flood. Firewalls rose up like barriers of thought and memory. She broke them with fragments of herself, childhood songs, coded losses, grief encrypted as access keys. Hurt. Every bypass was a memory she gave away. But the system yielded. Directive Ashfall blinked on screen. She selected Terminate. Confirm identity. She hesitated. Her name glowed on the screen. Lyra K9. Property of the Council. "I'm not yours," she whispered. "I never was." She typed in a new name, Lyra Solon. Confirmed. The spire went dark. Above them the storm stilled. Across the compound, anchor nodes shut down one by one, their lights extinguished like dying stars. Lyra collapsed to her knees, breath shallow, vision blurred. Kalen caught her. "It's done," he said, voice barely audible. "You did it." "No," she whispered. "We started it." In the distance, the other spires remained lit, but dimmer now, fractured. The network had been severed. People would feel it, less pressure, more thought. Freedom like a seed planted in silence. And when it bloomed, it would tear the sky apart.